Hello, everybody. We already have people here waiting. Y'all were early. Look at you. I'm proud of you.
Hey,
Hello to anybody watching the replay. If you're watching this on replay, I'm going to have timestamps down below so you can jump to the different point sections, hopefully, and that'll allow you to like quickly zoom through and find things. That will probably not be up till tomorrow though, because I don't know how long this is going to take. Heather and I discussed that. We were like, this might be a while. So
hopefully not the worst.
No, it'll be fine. It's going to be fun. We get to talk about a bunch of good books. And that's what we like to do here, I feel like, as a group. So if you're like tuning in and confused, Bree, do you want to give a rundown of your readathon?
Yeah, sure. So the amazing readathon starts on Saturday. And essentially we are going to be traveling the world while reading books, you know, from the comfort of your couch.
In our minds.
In our
traveling worlds.
And there are 5 genres. So we're going to be mostly talking about romance tonight. And so, yeah, you'll get 10 prompts that are dropped randomly throughout the month. There's going to be a 48-hour weekend read a side quest where we will be on sprints the entire 48 hours.
Oh, yeah, we are on sprints the whole 48 hours.
We did. We filled the last slot today. And that's the amazing readathon. It's chaos and it's so much fun.
It's really fun. I had a blast last year, so I was pumped when Bree was like, "Do you want to be a host for Team Romance?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then midway through, I'm gonna regret this decision. Not really. But yeah, that's kind of it. Heather and I are the hosts for Romance. We're gonna be here to bully you or to give you praise, whichever you prefer. We've already determined in our Discord chat.
Yes.
We're really leaning into Team Romance as far as praise and being mean. But yeah, Heather, do you want to introduce
or praise, whichever?
Yeah, whichever you
Listen,
prefer.
I just finished reading Sierra Simone's new book, so like I'm fully on board with this.
Okay, we can give you whichever one you need. This start. We're cool with it. It's fine. Oh yeah, Morgan, you don't have power or internet. I don't know if you have power or internet. We didn't have power or internet this morning, so I had a moment where I was like, "Uh-oh,"
because
just storms came through like crazy this morning. So yeah, whatever that giant storm was. But Heather, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm pointing the wrong way.
Hi, I'm Heather from Here Booktubes, and I read romance, and I just do whatever Izzy does, and that's why I'm here. Because I'm pretty sure Bree was like, "Hey Izzy, who should I ask?" And Izzy was probably like, "Heather," and here I am.
No, she told me she was asking you. She didn't.
Really?
She told me she was asking you, and I was like, "Sweet."
I just knew I couldn't put Izzy and Shay on the same team, or nobody else would have a chance.
No, I think Shay is really good as a producer. I think that was a great choice.
No, it's probably the best choice. Brie, do you have anything you want to say about your channel? I don't know. I was like, I made you talk about the readathons. If you want to talk about your channel too,
I'm for pausing a book. I read romance, fantasy, and horror. Those are my 3 genres of choice. But yeah, I started as a romance booktuber.
Did you?
I did.
I didn't know that. I don't know how I didn't know that though.
Well, mostly because I started when like Chelsea and Julie were really big.
Okay.
And so like those were like any book they talked about, I read.
Fair.
That's when like Smutathon was a thing.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, Smutathon back in the day
has infiltrated the chat.
That's fine.
It certainly is.
I totally get that. But yeah, so we have a lot of recs for you. We're gonna try and talk about them quickly, and that way we're not here for like hours and hours because it's a weeknight and people have work and things in the morning.
It's a short
week. I know it is, and we're all just anxious. One thing I want to note before we dive in, and I feel like this is a good reminder for people probably, is that you don't have to do all 50 sightseeing prompts. So don't look at this list and be like, "Oh gosh, this is a lot to read." Pick and choose.
In fact, these are all bonuses and optional. And really the thing that will help your team the most, especially if you're a slower reader or like I should say an average reader.
Right.
Yeah. If you're not
city prompt.
Me who has to be separated from someone.
Yes. I know for sure usually 10 prompts that I had to fulfill would be too much for me. But because I don't know what they're going to be, I have like that excitement. And also, particularly for me, it's not like, well, I picked those books 2 weeks ago. Why would I want to read them now?
You can tell that this was designed by somebody with ADHD because when you have a month-long readathon, a lot of times like you start burning out in the second half of the month. But because there's a prompt that drops every 3-ish days, you get this like little dopamine hit every couple of days.
It was designed for me. Like, I don't do readathons often anymore because like I truly am done. Like, if they're over a week, I'm done in like 3 days.
Trying to do like the same thing over and over.
Yeah, because I can't. I need to. And then it's like I don't even have to have a TBR really because I can just kind of go through it all and do it.
It's a guided mood reading, is what it is.
It is. It's
really
perfect.
And
I found stuff that I forgot about last year on my Kindle and like surprises because of the prompts. So that's kind of what you need to lean into. But yeah, so don't freak out and think you have to like do all the things. I'm doing a spinner wheel personally, so I'm spinning for points and then I'm spinning for which prompt I'm doing.
Nice.
And I'm gonna try and do all of them. We'll see. I'll get through what I get through. But that's like my strategy on it because I don't know. I was like,
because you can't.
I don't want to read all 500.
I will
pointers
be really
in like the first couple weekends.
I'll be really interested to see how the sightseeing does with the points this time. Because as someone who can see all of the chats, there's a lot of different strategies that teams are doing. Whereas some of them are like going to try to hit all of the 500s first. And so like that could potentially give them a leg up in early.
But then what happens at the end?
Right. But then some people are like, well, if we save them, then we can hit the 500 and then win the later.
I have spun 2. I'm trying not to spend more than 2 of the same things each like spin. Like I'm doing like 5 spins at a time basically. So if I spend like 2 500s, I'm like, maybe we wait. Not do 3. Like space them out some because why not? But also I'm probably the slight handful of people that may complete all 50.
There was like of the 1,000, there might be 4 of you.
Yeah, I like that's not for few, and I don't expect anyone else to.
Yeah,
which is the big thing.
It's not a requirement. It's not even expected.
No, but and also you can take any of these recs and apply them probably to a prompt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's definitely going to be flexibility here. I know Bree's like, yeah, duh. I know all the things. And I figured the idea was if you had 50 books picked out, something's gonna work.
10 of them will
work. 10 of them should. If they don't, again, gold stars.
Right.
Very impressed.
Skills.
But yeah, I guess we'll dive into our 100-point ticket. And let me write down what time it is before I forget. And the video. That way we can add these right away. Okay. So let's see. Okay, 2024 release is our first one on the ticket, and you do all of these, y'all. Like, you don't have to just pick one off each ticket. This is the other reminder because I feel like we've repeated that a lot lately. Face off.
Just as a reminder, though, you can only complete each recommendation or each prompt one time during the month.
Yes. Right. So one time during the month, you can do the prompt on each ticket. So is there 10 on each ticket?
There's 10 on each one. So there's 50 together. But like you can't do a 2024 release and then like 3 weeks later be like, oh, I have this other book that's a 2024 release. I'm gonna do it again.
No, So
also, once you submit it as that prompt, that's your book for that prompt. So you can't decide to.
There's no going back and changing.
Right. As you're reading, you can be like, well, actually, this fulfilled this thing as I'm reading it. It fulfills this a lot better. But once you submit it, you're all done.
That is a good way to do the 500 pager for sure. I love chaos. That's the way to do it. Hey, Ashley. All right. So first up, 2024 release. I've got Face Off by Tegan Hunter. This is a quick hockey romance. Though these are like a slightly higher page counts, they read like 300-page books, if that makes sense. Like they hit that perfect pace. This one is like a golden retriever hero and a black cat heroine, if I recall correctly. She's a veterinarian. He finds a dog in like the alley and takes it to her vet office, and she's like, not you. So it's a lot of them bickering and then slowly falling in love, and it's adorableness.
Love that. Okay, this is mine. This is Follow Me to the Yew Tree by Desiree M. Nicoli. This is like 80 pages. It's a historical fantasy romance with death and also chronic illness representation. And it is like really beautiful writing. So big fan. Definitely a favorite of the year so far.
I loved this book. I was very mad when you said it. I was like, dang it, Heather. There we go.
Your Brooks.
Oh, this was mine. I actually just read this like last weekend, and it is Alexandria Bellafier's newest release, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It has fantastic bisexual representation. There is a conversation that he says to her, "You're queer, or you were in a queer relationship because you're queer," even though like she had only dated men up until that point.
Amen.
And I like almost started crying when I read that.
That sounds really good. I want to read this one really bad. My library hold
honestly-
is taking an eternity.
I've now read all of them, like her entire backlist, and this one is my favorite.
This is the
Okay,
one
I've only read
to read, but
yeah, I've only read one of hers, and it was a time. I didn't love it, but I have two. This one and another one of hers on my TBR, so this one's probably gonna bump up. Okay, odd page number. Chick Magnet is a Kindle Unlimited with audio, because there's been big discussions in Team Romance for Kindle Unlimited with audios. This follows a lady who is a chicken influencer, and the guy is a veterinarian, and he hates animal influencers and their neighbors. And of course, one of her chickens is like egg bound or something, and they just end up developing this like adorable relationship. It's very funny. Like I laughed out loud a couple times during it, and I just kind of like had a good time, which is what I'm looking for in a contemporary like it's not really a rom-com, but kind of a rom-com vibe. So just a good time.
Yeah. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. I read this long before it blew up, and I've watched it like take off. This is a not taking itself too seriously, funny fantasy romance. If you hate the humor, you're going to hate the whole thing, right? Like if you don't like the beginning, you're not going to like it. But it is just, I mean, the title tells you everything that you need to know of the type of book that this is going to be. And if it sounds good, it's as good as everybody says it is. So, yeah.
I think this is a like pretty universally loved book.
Except for one person here DNF'd it.
Like I'm pretty sure I read
I
this
don't know
on
who.
Izzy's recommendation.
Me too. Or try to.
You were in the right mood for it.
I was not.
It's one of the few second chance romances that I enjoyed. Because that's not usually a trope that works for me. But there was a lot of like the banter was so great. There was a lot of like tension between the two, and then also like a wedding show reality TV show.
Yeah. Also, I felt like the timeline split of him being the past and her being the present,
It
like
was
worked really
so-
nicely. In a way like I did not expect. Like if you
For a
like, that didn't
debut
sell me on the
author,
book. Yeah.
this was so good, so well written.
It was.
So good.
Sorry, Heather.
I only didn't like it because I read the exact same tropes the day before, and they're not my favorite tropes. It was
Fair.
not the book's fault. It was
No, she's
completely
promised to
timely.
return to it at some point. So
Yes,
we'll
fair.
see.
That's fair.
This is also you, Brie, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yes. This one actually will fit like a lot of different prompts, like book talk recommendation and sports. But this is like a grumpy sunshine rivals to lovers college romance. That is like this one. Do not take seriously. This you're here for a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a fun time and you just lead into the goose.
It just like it's campy and it's just it very much feels like a CW show.
Yes, 100%. Which if that's what you want to read, it's like perfect.
I read it so fast too.
I did too. I think almost everything I put on here was like very quick reads.
Yeah.
For me, like if anything is like longish, it's something that I devoured.
Yeah.
Backlist titles. So I did Criminal Intentions by Cole McCade. This is season 1, episode 1, The Cardigans. This is a true crime thriller, kind of gritty cop book, but it also like interrogates cops in a way. It's very fascinating. Um, I don't think the early one would count for the romance bonus, but I think as you continue in the series, it could.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are on Hoopla and on audio. They're short and they're so quick, quick. So they're a great option if you're looking for something different, but like could still potentially work as a romance prompt bonus.
Like
Or
if
if you're
you
on
like,
Team Spooky, I guess.
if you like crime shows but you don't like propaganda, then this is like the perfect author to give you what you want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, it's so good. Highly, highly recommend.
I did have the cardigans on a prompt, but I had to take it away because Izzy had it, so we co-signed that. But Courtney Milan, we haven't been saying which ones are queer authors either, so that was a mistake.
Oops. Oh well.
Cole McCade is a queer author.
Yes, he is.
Courtney Milan is a queer author. The Duke Who Didn't is a historical romance where they are friends to lovers and there's no third act breakup. And he is a duke and she doesn't know that he's a duke and he's obsessed with her and she has no idea at all. And his plan is like, well, she's not going to believe me if I tell her I want to marry her, so I'm going to ask her to help me get a wife. And then eventually she'll realize she actually fits all of the checks, all the check boxes. And then that's how we're going to get together. So that's his plan.
The best plan. Oh, here we go. I keep clicking away just enough where it doesn't turn the thing.
Ashley Poston is a queer author. And she actually has like a ton of romances, but 7 Year Slip is another one that I really loved. It has like almost a speculative element to it. Mm-hmm. Because like as she goes into the apartment, she's essentially 7 years in the past, and there's another guy that's living in the apartment. And then when she goes out, she's back in her normal life. And I think it was just really smartly done. Ashley Poston has a lot of these like not quite contemporary stories. Mm-hmm. That is just a really refreshing way to look at a romance.
It also like did time slip weirdly well, because really? I don't feel like time slip is something that like ever draws my attention. In fact, I'm normally like, no, thank you. But it was like shockingly good.
And then the Ravenswood series is actually probably my favorite series from Talia Hibbert. I know like everybody knows her for the Brown Sisters. Mm-hmm. But this was her indie series. So like, mm-hmm. They're a lot steamier. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of representation in here, both mental health. In the first one, she is autistic and has an obsession with the Black Panther. And in the third one, he is actually demisexual, which is not a representation that you see very often.
Mm-hmm. This is on my pile of possibilities.
I need to continue that series like badly.
They get better as you go along. And then the Spoiler Alert series is all of them are considered her backlist, and they all have like a really, really good mental health representation. Mm-hmm. In this one, he's dyslexic. In the second one, he has ADHD, which like as someone who has ADHD, I really appreciated. And mm-hmm. I was like, oh, I think that might be me.
I felt slightly called out by that book. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe a little bit.
I was like, wow, very rude.
And also, they're all plus size. Mm-hmm. The women are all plus size, and then the third one, he is also plus size.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
They're so fun. They're very fun. Number in the title. Okay. This is Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard.
What is the title?
It's amazingness. It has a number in it. That's what this title is. What did you expect me to pull?
Honestly, I will count the volume 1 as a number in the title.
I was trying to be very specific and actually have a number in the title and not just a volume number. Wow, dang it! So read
I love that you went the
everyone.
Extra mile, and only the people in this sprint will know that you can count volume.
That's fine. It works. This is a really funny virgin hero workplace romance. It's very goofy, kind of slice of life, and it's funny. Like overall, it's a little like, it might be a little much for some people, but it's very, very funny, cute. So it's boys love, they fall in love. It's just like adorableness all around though. But yeah, he discovers like he has magical powers because he's been a virgin for 30 years.
That's amazing.
I was like,
I 100%
that's
have
just
to
the
read this.
best. I think there's an anime too now, so you could just watch it probably. But yeah, this is my pick. I was like, this is the best option with number title.
That's funny. Mine is 2-Minute Warning by Alexander Warren. It is a football romance with no third act breakup again. I really liked that they had legitimate conflict and they talked through it, and there wasn't like a huge, well, we're going to break up for 3 weeks and that's how we're going to fix it. It was adults talking to each other. So she's an influencer, he's the quarterback. This is the second book in the series, but you can very much read it as a standalone. And yeah, love Alexander Warren. She has such excellent humor and banter and steam and chemistry and all of that. But yeah, really smart conflict and really well resolved. If you like your couple being together for the whole book, then you'll like this. If you don't, you probably won't.
Book Talk Rex. Okay, only for the week. This is one of my host favorites. So obviously you should read it to get your extra readathon cash. But this is a very messy, but also delightful, like, use me as a stress ball for a week is my favorite line from this book, to get through the trauma that is dealing with your family and your sister marrying the guy you dated for 6 months, who thinks like your family thinks it's this whole thing, right? Is our main character's like biggest issue. And it's really not. She could care less. But Rome is amazing. He literally rents her a yacht so she can read books on the water and starts reading her favorite series as well. Like, it's just so good. I don't know, like, if you haven't read it yet, you should try if you think it appeals to you. But it's very much like a mix of soap opera messy with like just very fun sex, which is like my favorite thing in books. Give me the drama, give me the boning. Good to go.
Sounds like you. Mine's One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. It is a fantasy romance, and it's very much both genres. If you don't like the romance, you're not going to like this book, but at the same time, it has really complex but easy to understand world building and magic systems and politics. Yeah, this is my favorite book of the year, this duet, so really can't
already
recommend.
You're
Yeah.
already declaring? Wow.
Well, it certainly is so far. I can tell by like not even close. It's not even close.
I've heard such mixed things on this that it scares me.
I think you either really love it or you really don't.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder too if some of that's like expectation for fantasy versus romance content in it.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Like, I liked everything about this, and then I've heard other people complain about the exact things I enjoyed so much. So it really is.
I mean, that's fun though. I love seeing how subjective like everything is when that stuff happens. Brie, what do you think? Would Neon Gods?
I think this would be like a use your best judgment. Personally, I probably wouldn't count it, but because there's, especially with Book Talk, like there's so many that you could read that like personally I wouldn't, but like also if Book Talk recommended that you read it, then yeah, for you it's a recommendation.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part too, because everyone's FYP is so different. Like I got tons of Only for the Week on my feed, right? But that doesn't mean everyone else did. I mean, you could pull up a list. If it's on a list, it could count.
You could probably go into Barnes & Noble where they have the table and it says Book Talk recommends.
Yeah, that too.
If you go on the book, if it's like a top Book Talk book, it says that.
I imagine there's probably also Goodreads lists that are Book Talk recommendations.
Yeah. So use your judgment. I feel like it's one of those. Brie, I was so mad you picked this book because I had it for another one. I was like, dang it.
Oh, no, did you?
It's okay. It's okay.
This is If Dexter Was a Romance. It's two serial killers that are trying to out serial killer each other by killing other serial killers. So there's also like a competition or a game involved in it. So you could, was that the one you were going to use it for?
No, I was going to use it for a weapon on the cover, I think.
Oh, that also would work.
It fits for quite a few.
Lots of options.
The banter be bantering in this one, and I would have told you that the audiobook was really good, but it's that one audiobook narrator.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that.
Do not eat ice cream while reading this book.
Don't eat ice cream while reading.
Don't eat while reading these books, to be honest with you.
Did you see that she changed her narrator for Leather and Lark?
Yes. I'm thrilled because I wanted to listen to this and I don't really like yeah. I haven't been a big fan for a while, so I was just like, oh, okay, this is easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, it's fine. But yeah, I was like, oh, there's so many weapons on the cover. It's perfect.
This is true. That's one of those prompts for romance that it's a little harder to find. If you're reading fantasy, like that's easy. But
it depends on the romance subgenre. You either have plenty or none.
Yeah.
Depends on what you like.
Yeah. It's weird. It was weird finding weapons. Cars
There's a weapon on the cover.
Planes, trains, and cars were harder, honestly, on romance for me than anything else.
Oh, by the way, we want to know if motorcycles count for that.
No, it's plane, train, or car.
That's what I thought. I just want to know. That's what I thought.
I just want to confirm. She's so mean, taking motorcycles from us. Yeah, I know this also could count for a weapon on the cover. But yeah, genre blend, Dawn of the Dawn, a fantasy romance saga that's like 40 plus volumes now in the States, and she has dragons and her dad's killed and she goes on a giant adventure that's massive, but also likely you might find this at your library if you want to try manga and you like fantasy or you like romance. It's kind of one of those ones that I feel like has a good bit of appeal, like cross appeal. I feel like to people, so highly recommend trying it. I love Yona. I probably will be reading it during the month of June. I was like, what month is the readathon?
Where are we?
What month does it start? Where are we?
When are we?
Carl, can we get some help?
Where's Carl when I need him?
What month is the readathon, Carl?
I don't think a bus counts. It's a plane, train, or a car.
Plane, train, or car.
Bus is not a car.
So mine is Inextricably Tied by Vita Weiss. This is romantic suspense monster romance, and this is a queer author. Everybody's pansexual, and that little night terror that's all black with the yellow eyes on the cover, they are like gender fluid because their body can move around, and I really like the way that was written. It was very fun. But yeah, the other two are longtime investigative partners. The Banshee can read emotions of anything she touches, and then the Gargoyle is her bodyguard. So it's really good.
Queer? Did you say queer author or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, hold on, because I keep forgetting still.
Also, I apologize. I didn't realize you guys were only doing one per thing, and when I gave
you're fine. You don't have one per.
We spent way too much time doing this. You are just along.
They're just like, here, if you have a website, you can send it to me. And I was like, okay, here you go.
You don't need to like.
I limited Heather and I because if we didn't, we would be here for 5 hours.
That's for sure.
This is Slaying the Shadow Prince by Helen Scher. I don't know if she's a queer author or not. But I read this during Readathon this year, and it was easily a 5-star. There are so many like quotable lines in here. The character development is fantastic. It also has a lot of like fantasy in it too. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more dense, then like just some of the fan rows are smut forward, and this one's not. It's also Cassidy's host favorite, so you would get your extra GRC for it as well.
Yeah, I'm adding that one to the TBR.
And then this is the one that I can't stop thinking about right now. Has my entire brain. This is if Katie Robert wrote a mafia romance.
Okay.
She has.
Because it has a lot of mental health representation. Our main character in this one has PTSD from a past relationship. Alison Carr-Wechter is a queer author. This book is a trilogy, and then she has another duology. But this is the only one I've read from her so far. But I originally, when I read this, gave it 4.5 stars, and then I legitimately cannot stop thinking about it. So now it's definitely 5 stars.
Slaying the Shadow Prince is on Hoopla for my audiobook people, so that's good to know. Have you not read Katie's mafia books from back in the day?
Well, yes. Yeah. And that's what it
Okay.
kind of reminds me of.
Okay.
It's
No, I can see. I was like, how have you not read those?
No, I have. And it just like, it kind of reminds me, because this is more, it's like,
That's fair.
it is a fantasy romance, but there's like two
Mhm.
like families that are kind of like clashing,
Yeah.
and that's why it feels more mafia.
Okay. I just checked it out. Okay. You sold me.
And then this is another fantasy romance. Carissa Broadbent like writes a ton of fantasy romance.
Mhm.
This trilogy is personally my favorite. It has a like mentor-mentee relationship, which I know is sometimes not a trope people like, but for me it really, really worked. And it's about a girl who frees herself from slavery and then joins this magic order to try to like rescue the rest of her clan, and falls in love with the person that's training her.
Did we all read this last year during the readathon? I know I did. I know did you and Shay read it during
I can't remember if it was during the readathon or right after.
Because I know I read it, and then Shay was like, I'm buddy reading this with Brie, and I was like, oh, you guys are going to have a blast.
We still haven't finished the third book.
I still have to read the third book, too, so you're fine.
Okay, cool.
Fair enough. Novellas. This is one of my favorite novellas that I don't feel like gets enough love. Deserves more attention. Neighborly by Katrina Jackson, which is a queer author. And this follows a girl and her boyfriend who move in next door to another couple in like a duplex. And he's a fighter, and the two wives are interested in each other / wives girlfriends. So they end up entering into a like open relationship together. That is like fantastic. It's like the perfect amount of like plot, but mostly smut, which is what I'm looking for in a novella usually when I read romance. So
yeah,
a great time.
And amazingly done. Mine, because Izzy took neighborly, mine is Deal with the Demon by Chase Verity. This is the perfect, cozy, sweet house husband demon making cinnamon buns and watching the kids while she goes to work. And it is adorable. I know the cover looks creepy-ish, but it's not. That's not what the book is. This is if you want to see a single mom getting help from a demon and falling in love.
Literally, I love that she just signs a contract. Like she just scans a thing and does it without.
Yeah, she downloads an app.
Like she doesn't read anything. She's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I was like, wow, if that isn't a call out to how all of us would just download the app, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
And this is a queer author, and the whole series is really excellent. So if you like this one, there's more.
This is Stoneheart by Katie Robert. Katie Robert is a queer author, and this is part of the Dark Olympus series of the Neon Gods. It's like 0.5, so like technically you can read it on its own, or if you haven't read the rest of the series. And this is a sapphic romance with Calypso and Medusa.
I think so.
Yeah. Where Medusa has been like assigned to go kill Calypso, and then instead she falls in love.
Duh.
And it's only like 80 pages, so
perfect.
That's exactly what we want for that.
This is a series, I think, of 3 novellas. I've only read the first one, but this one is about a lesbian parolee and a pansexual nurse who was the nurse in the jail where she was at, and then when she gets out, they kind of have like this second chance romance. It makes sense in the novella because a lot of times you have to have like, there's already like an established pre-existing not romance but relationship where they knew each other before.
And it's been on my TBR forever. So.
It's steamy and sexy, and like I read it in like one evening, so another short one.
Nice. 200 pointers. We're moving. We're not doing too bad on pace. Let's see. First, a book with a map. Did I take this one, Heather? Yes, because you haven't read this one yet.
No, I got it from Robin in the chat. I got from her video or her Instagram post, maybe.
But there are 2 eggplants, so like, you know, that's fun.
Yeah, like listen, Heather and I argued about multiple books. This one, who gets what, as you do as hosts. But The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert, again, she's queer. We already talked about her a little bit, but this is a really interesting setup. At the end of the day, I feel like, because she is whisked off into this other world and enters a contract with the dragon that has 2 penises. Because of course. Why wouldn't he? They do not.
He uses them very well too.
He does use them very well, but we do need to note there's no duel because they're ginormous and it would break her. So don't go in expecting that element, because I have a book later in which that does happen. So I'm just clarifying now. When we say there's two, yes, they both get used, but not at the same time. But yeah, she enters a contract basically to get out of a shitty situation. I believe big content note here for domestic violence, if I recall correctly. Katie does a really good job laying those out for you before you read the book. But it's so fun. And the rest of the world set up here is really interesting as far as these women entering into contracts to like escape bad things in our reality.
Do you know if the other ones in that series also have a map?
I do not know off the top of my head. I'll have to look. But they could count for other prompts pretty easily, I feel like. So I'll flip through them later. I think I have all of them on my Kindle, so.
Yeah. This is another book that we both wanted. So this is The Midwinter Mail Order Bride by Kay Wilde. This is under 200 pages, and it's a fantasy romance with a ton of humor and steam. So if you like fantasy romance, but sometimes just want something a little quick, this is that. So he's like the conqueror, and they arrange a bride for him, but he doesn't know that they arranged a bride for him. So she shows up on drugs and is like, I'm gonna kill this king. And he takes one look at her and falls in love. I was like, well, I want a willing bride, so I'm gonna take you home. And then, he personally decides to take her home. So they fall in love on the road trip.
So fun. The rest of this series also, at least book 2 has a map and could also fit a lot of prompts. I feel like this whole series, and they're all very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Involving food. I've got Mangoes and Mistletoe, which is another queer author by Adriana Herrera that is 2 lesbians in Scotland at a baking competition. So Christmas time, Great British Bake Off. What more do you need? Like, I don't, if you need more than that, I don't know what to tell you, because it's just like perfectly cozy. So I don't know. It's a good time. Why not read it in June? You're going to be like dying of heat anyways, so we can pretend it's cold out while inside.
In our hemisphere.
Well, over here, yeah.
Can read it right on time.
Yes.
Mine is Cups of You by Carmen Lee. This is a small town coffee shop romance, and it's a series of standalones. So the second book is also coffee shop and is sapphic, and honestly has nothing to do with book 1. So I'm not exactly sure why they're in the same series, but you can read either one as a standalone perfectly fine. Really sweet, slow burn, good communication romances.
This is The Romance Recipe by Ruby Barrett. This is a micromanaging restaurant owner and a chef who is described as grump in the kitchen, sunshine in the streets. And took 30 years to figure out she was queer. And so they end up working together to try to save this restaurant. And then there is also a cooking show competition that's involved in it as well.
I feel like cooking show competitions have become really popular in like the last couple years.
And she is a queer author, if I didn't already say that.
Mine was too. I don't know if I said that. I was blanking out while I was listening.
Okay. Illustrated cover. I purposely picked a not cartoony cover on this to note that like it doesn't have to be a cartoon cover. We really just mean like, was it drawn? So of course I went with Lillian Lark, who hand paints all of her covers in like oil painting, which is bananas. Ensnared by the Werewolf is one of her novellas. You could pick up any of her monster romances. This one follows a girl who was supposed to meet up with a hero we meet in another book for their date night, and she's like a witch, and this werewolf who she ends up ensnaring, and they are mates actually. And it's really cute and fun, quick reads. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of hers for an illustrated cover, but this is probably the most approachable of her 2 novellas. The other one does have like very different breeding mechanisms, we'll call it, which is the lake monster one, but again, not for everyone.
Yeah. Mine is In the Care of Magic by Robin Jo Margaret. This is a queer author. It's a novella. You have a pansexual witch and then a aromatic demon, who again is gender fluid, and they have a really sweet kind of romance. They decide that they wanted to be together for like forever, but he doesn't do romance. So I liked the representation. I liked how it was handled. And yeah, it's just really cozy, steamy, and again, like very low conflict between them.
It's a low conflict. Low conflict is what we need during the Readathon.
Right.
Well, 3 reigns chaos over us all. Yes, I would say Marissa actually mentioned it in a video I posted, and I was like, I do need to read that.
It's so
first
it's a quick one.
It sounds good. It sounds and it sounds different, which is exactly what I want sometimes. So, first person POV, the thing I never think about in a single book I read until I'm asked this question, and I go, "Huh? What?" Unless it's bad. When it's bad, I notice it.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm just like, I'm here. I'm vibing. This whole series, The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, I love the first 3 books. I don't love the last book, but very easily could fit a lot of prompts also. But this is just a really fun Peter Pan Wide Shoes romance with Wendy Darling, who's basically constantly reincarnated / born in a family. Like the same family keeps birthing them, and they keep getting kidnapped and taken to Neverland. And we follow her journey with like a bunch of the Lost Boys and Peter. And it's just fun. It's kind of dark. It's pretty spicy. They're very quick reads. They are 100% like you could sit down and read it in one night and be done. So like perfect for this. And you really could devour like all of them probably for the readathon. Maybe skip book 4. Maybe just stop at book 3. Yeah, because book 4 was heartbreakingly not great. But you know, this one has like over 100K ratings, things like that. You got some options.
And it's
I think book 2 has a number in the title. You know.
So true, Bestie. Mine is Return to Monte Carlo by K.C. Wells. This takes place in the 80s. It is a marriage in trouble, runaway wife, secret baby, and this is consensual non-consent. So this is where everything is consensual, is a kink, but it does play out like it's not. So if you don't like that, again, you won't like this book. But K.C. Wells can take characters, have me despising them in the first few chapters, and then by the end of the book I'm like, my precious babies, they can do no wrong. I don't know why we ever had this misunderstanding, but yes, like team hero, you know. So I don't really like high conflict books, and hers are, and I devour them. She can do no wrong in my eyes.
She shows up on this list again at least twice, so we're big stans.
We love K.C. Wells.
All right, self-published. Rosie Adams is just like a default self-pubbed author recommendation, I feel like. A lot of these already are self-pubbed. I was like, you gave us this when I read this property. I was like, well, that's easy.
Everything.
And then I was like, who the heck do I rec even? There's too many. But yeah, I feel like Trouble is a great polyamorous romance about a married couple who open their relationship. It's agreed upon. They both end up on a date with the same person, basically not knowing it, and then they invite her in. And it's fantastic. Good time, good smut, good, like no real conflict. Like it's handled well. Like communication is happening about this choice they're making, and that's all I need in those situations. So I don't know. And Rosie just always writes a fun book at the end of the day.
Mine's The Hitman by Katrina Jackson. There's technically a novella before this, but I would just skip, honestly, if I were you, and I would read this one. So she's on vacation. Well, she's on what's supposed to be her honeymoon, but she finds out her groom is cheating right before the wedding. So she goes on the honeymoon without him and is crying in the hotel. And this hitman is there to, get away from the heat for something he did for his mafia family, and is listening to this woman sob every night and is ready to kill her, but doesn't realize it's the same girl he keeps hitting on at the pool. And then they things go downhill and they have forced proximity. This is, again, low conflict, low angst, high heat. If you don't want to just see them together, fighting for their lives. You're not gonna like it. That's what it is. Oh, also queer author.
I was gonna say she's queer and 99% sure. I'm not sure about Rilsey. So that's
You don't know
interesting.
about Rosie? Oh,
This one's you, Heather?
Okay.
Some of these start flipping in order.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Solace by Gail Carriger. Keep calm with books and coffee. I think I said your channel name right. Julie mentioned that this author was queer. I love this series. This is steampunk, Victorian, paranormal, immaculate banter. Some of the best like meet cute type scenarios that I have read. Just these books are so fun. Like they're so fun. Can't recommend enough. And there is a manga of the first book. So there's like 3 volumes of manga. And the manga's in Kindle Unlimited. The series is not. The series I got from the library. But yeah, if you like those genre blends, this is so well done.
This was actually a host favorite last year, so a lot of people read it, and so like it's gotten I think it's actually when Julie read it last year, at least when she started the series.
I feel like it was a host favorite last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Zoe. It was either Zoe or Jess's.
Yeah, it's such a fun one.
It's so good.
It takes me back to like my early romance days. This is one of the series I read when like steampunk was big.
Yeah,
for that like brief flash that we had like really good steampunks. Maybe Casey Wells again, because why not? This is her motorcycle club romance, and I just had a fun time with this. I don't remember a ton about it, I'm gonna be honest, but I was trying to think of a debut that would be like fun and different, and I'm somebody who doesn't really like motorcycle club romances, so for me to like this says a lot. I think, is this the one where she like lives by him?
Yes, they're neighbors.
She's a single mom. Okay.
You do have some content warnings for past SA, and also her rich family is
like really shitty. Yeah, that's okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a single mom one, but then I was like, am I thinking of the next book? Because I've read like half
one
of the series.
single mom in her books.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really fun, and her kid's really cute, and he loves her kid like so much. And I don't love kids in books, but when they do them well, I like them. And this is one of those scenarios where I was like, this works.
Yeah,
this works. Because I don't generally read single parents. I don't know, it's not my jam. But yeah, this is a great option
for sure.
This is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This was I think I should try cowboy romance, and it went really well. So this is about a girl who comes back to her hometown after a rodeo injury, just to kind of like do rehab and stuff. And then he is like older brother's best friend, which is a fun trope. And it also has really good ADHD rep in it. So
I didn't know it had that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'm actually reading cowboy book.
Its own voices. She kind of mentioned in a like tweet that like she thinks she has ADHD.
That's fair. That's fair. I didn't even know that.
I found it very accurate. Even down to like there was a scene where like she really hated the shirt she was wearing because the tag on the side was bugging her.
The worst. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm putting it on hold right now at the library.
And the new one just came out. I haven't read it yet, but this is her first one.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not a big cowboy fan, so that sold me on it.
I was not either, but this one may have surprised me.
Okay. Isolated Settings.
This is my host favorite, and this is it's dystopian romance. You have a younger woman and an older man. They're from the same town. You have content warnings where they both just had loved ones pass because of there being no infrastructure, and a lot of people die from things that would be easily preventable right now. And they are going to go catch up with the rest of their town, and it's just the two of them on the road for days and days and days and days, and maybe they're soulmates and they were supposed to fall in love when in the only world where they would have been a couple. So it's age gap romance done in a way where it doesn't ick you out, because it's like so accidental that these two ended up together.
I'm excited to read that one. I'm definitely going to try to get to it.
Yeah, I'm planning on picking that one up.
I hadn't
when you put on your host
heard of
faves
it before Heather made it a host favorite.
Yeah, when I saw that on the list, I knew her and Robin also love it, and Steph from Novelty Corner. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to read this now.
Yeah.
For Isolated Setting, I went for the alien romance you maybe don't know about. Maybe, I don't know. It's Taken to Veraxia by Elizabeth Stevens. It's about this planet that's basically been set off to the side and is used for sport and like hunting down mates, kind of, but not like in a consensual way, in like a predatory way. So they're in this like on this planet, and like people exist there, and they're living in like a small community, but they're completely neglected by the people who like sent them there, if that makes sense. Like, so it's very isolated in that way, and the king of like one of the planet, basically like the ruler, finds out, and when they land he realizes his mate's there, and there's like she's really resisting it because she doesn't realize that's what it is, and not that he's like trying to take advantage of her like everyone else that's been coming to the planet and like stalking them and harassing them and like raping them and all this stuff. So like there's really some heavy content here, like a lot of alien books seem to have, but it was a really interesting way to do it, and it felt so nicely unique from a lot of other alien romances, which I feel like can be it's kind of samey too much if you read a bunch in a row. Like this felt like very refreshing. Isolated Settings were hard to find. I actually have one other one, which would be Whiteout by Alexandria Anders. Is that her name? I think that's it. It's like a Antarctica thriller romance, like romantic suspense. Where they're on the run through the Arctic with this like vial of a virus. This is pre-2020 it was written, so that was a time to read it in 2020. Retellings. See, now we're back in order. I don't know what I did when I made this.
I think it depends on who filled it out first.
I think that's so. I think I just started throwing in after that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another isolated one, which is Red Dirt Heart by N.R. Walker.
I actually just put that on my TBR today from watching her video.
Nice. This is Aliette de Bodard. This is The Vanisher's Palace. It's kind of more fantasy than romance. It's a very quick novella that has a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast. So she's in this palace. There is a dragon being there. And it was just really fun and really beautifully written. I had a good time when I read it a couple years ago, so I felt like it was an easy one for this kind of prompt.
Mine is also a Beauty and the Beast fantasy romance. Mine's Bryony and Roses by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher's fantasy romance is really underhyped and underappreciated, even though the author is kind of blown up. So I have 3 on this list. But this one's really short and is a very clever spin on Beauty and the Beast. So you have some of the beats that you recognize, but it's not like you know every single thing that's going to happen, and there's some cool twists with it. And the banter is immaculate. Amazing. So yeah.
I just check it out, maybe. Brie.
This one also, I think, was an Izzy recommendation originally.
The only reason I didn't put it is it's so long.
This is another Beauty and the Beast.
It is, but it reads so fast.
Mm-hmm. Listen, we have a thing, and we like Beauty and the Beast here. It's fine.
We do like good Beauty and the Beast recently. But this is Beauty and the Beast if the Beast were 4 Fey princes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Polly. There's a lot of smut in it. And it starts out, it's kind of like a portal fantasy, but then once she gets there, there's just a lot of smut.
Mm-hmm. So good. Yeah, Emily McIntyre is another great option for this one.
Yeah, lots of retellings.
Perfect. So yeah, if anybody wants the audio, it's on sale. See, we're not alone. They are fun. Like they're just solid. Like when they're good, they're good.
When they're good,
they're bad. They're bad.
Yep.
And it's a no thank you. Okay, 300 points. Oh, so we got 10, well, not even 10 more. I don't know. Some of these we didn't do because y'all can find friend Rex by watching this video.
We are your friend.
We are now your friend. Okay, BIPOC author.
Mine's Rebecca Weatherspoon. All of the books in this series are one-word name titles, so that fits a couple different prompts. Queer author, and this one is a marriage of convenience, and it's two bisexual disasters finding each other, and I laughed and cried in the first chapter. So,
It's so good.
content warning, I guess, because it does start with the funeral of her aunt, and there's some pretty messy family dynamics, but overall it's not a sad book. It's a very sweet book with lots of steam. I don't mean that it's no steam when I say sweet.
There's
I mean
pegging.
the dynamic between them is very sweet.
Yep, and there's pegging. So who
Yes.
doesn't want that? But that whole series is fantastic.
The third one is for sure getting read in June.
As it should. You're gonna have so much fun.
Oh, I know. I'm
yeah. Oh, I'm excited for you. Going Down Smooth by Drea Wells is a Omegaverse that I recently read and really enjoyed. And I think it's kind of a good entry point sort of to Omegaverse because it's not too much. There is some intense stuff here at the end. There is graphic rape on page that you can skip. Though, if it's going to be too much for you, like absolutely skip the pages, so you're not going to miss a ton. But this is about a girl that was basically raised to be an alpha, finds out she's an omega, of course, and runs off and is like, I'm not doing this, and was going to marry her like childhood best friends, basically to be her pack. She runs off, her dad dies, and she comes back to inherit the bourbon company he runs. And I was really happy because Drea Wells like nailed the bourbon correctly in this, which is like a big problem I've had in some books where like things are very, very wrong. And I'm like, you didn't even Google anything about this, and your person's supposed to run like a bourbon company. Like that's not how that works. But yeah, so she comes back to inherit that, but to do so, she has to marry the pack. We follow that. There's people out to get them, of course, and a lot of just kind of back and forth. It's very, very fast paced. It's under 300 pages also, so like you definitely can tear through it in a sitting, maybe two, but it's a good time. And then we've got Involving Travel, which is mine on this one. So Along for the Ride by Mimi Grace is something I read a few years ago. This is a road trip with her brother's best friend. They like break down in the middle of nowhere. So like the book kind of stalls out for a minute while they're broken down. And that's when like they start hooking up and like confessing feelings. And it was just really funny and cute, great banter all around. Like I'm planning to read a Mimi Grace or two for the readathon probably. So that'll be nice. But yeah, she's just writes really fun books, and her covers are adorable.
I love
like all of her covers are really cute.
Mm-hmm. Mine is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, an underrated fantasy romance author, if you're unaware. This one, you have most of her characters are older, so 30s or 40s, which is older than usual for a main character in a fantasy romance book, right? So this one, she was widowed a long time ago. She's been taking care of her husband's uncle, and he dies and leaves her everything. And the family's like, absolutely not. You're going to have to marry this guy, this cousin over here. And like, you're not getting this money. You're not taking it. So she really wants her nieces to get it. So her plan is that she is not going to allow them to wear her down by keeping her in captivity for however long it takes. So she gets a sword and is going to but Magic Man pops out of the sword, busts her out to freedom. They go here, there, and everywhere as they try and get someone to recognize the will. I mean, it's pretty low stakes, but not for her. So they're not saving the world, but they are trying to save themselves. And again, the banter, the humor, the characters, you don't even understand. You don't understand.
Did you not put T. Kingfisher on your favorites at all?
I had 5 favorites, Izzy, and also I didn't understand what they were for. Like, I didn't know that I should be picking all series so people could read books in the series to get credit.
Oops.
I didn't know.
Oops. I failed you. I'm sorry.
I was just trying to narrow it down to 5.
Kristen has a T. Kingfisher in her favorite.
She does. And I've also read that one, and it's delightful. But that one is not a fantasy romance, and mine are. So
I was just surprised because, like, I know how much you love T. Kingfisher.
I love T. Kingfisher. Adore.
It takes place out of school.
This is mine too. This is The Headmaster by Tiffany Rice, and this is a English teacher, I think. And
Yeah.
she goes and falls in love with the headmaster at her new school. And he is like, this looks like a dark romance. I thought it was a dark romance. Turns out he's like the
No.
sweetest man who ever lived.
It also
And
has, like, a interesting twist at the end, I
there's
feel
an
like.
interesting things. I cried again. Who's surprised?
Wow. Okay, mine is Imakoi, Now I'm in Love, which is a whole manga series, so you could read 9 volumes and get 900 GRC back.
Someone
I was good. I was
good.
like, I'm only picking one manga. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be too nice. And I picked one that was not too bad, at least hopefully. Robin also cried with you in The Headmaster, so there's that.
I see.
This is such a fun one. It is on the Viz Media app. It is about a girl who made a move on her crush too late in middle school and in high school said, I'm not making the same mistake. And it's her and her like crush, and they like go forward with dating. And it's so cute and precious. Like they're kind of like an old married couple, like by midway through the series in the best ways, which is one of my favorite things. Like when they're like in high school, but like also they feel like they've been married for 15 years somehow. Because they
Yeah.
just like get each other. And obviously they're in high school. So a lot of the book does take place at school and involves partially some of their friend group later on. So we get like another couple's story, but it's really fun. And you can just pay like $2.99 to get the Viz Media app. I'm just saying, you don't have to go buy volumes. You can read them on your phone or your iPad or your Kindle Fire, tablet of choice, whatever, you know, all the things. And then third person.
T. Kingfisher, an underrated fantasy romance author for anyone who is interested. Paladin's Grace, this is actually my favorite. Like, if you're only going to try one, I would try this one because it's immaculate. Again, you have a woman in her 30s, and this has paladins, which are religious knights or holy knights, and their god died. And so they all kind of lost their minds, went into a killing rage. No one knew that a god could die until theirs did. And now there's only a small handful of them that have survived, and they're all kind of broken. And I have a lot of religious trauma, and I avoid it like the plague. And I love the way it's explored in this series. I hate martyr complex characters, and you have never met a martyr like a paladin, and I love them with my entire being. I love every single one. We're getting more books. I hope we get like 50. So she takes things that I don't like and makes me like so happy to be there. I would read several hundred more pages if she wrote it. So can't recommend enough.
Wow. Then I've got One Night, One Bite by Dree Anderson. This is a vampire novella. She goes out to party after breaking up with her boyfriend, I believe.
No, finalizing her divorce.
No, finalizing her divorce. I was like, it was one or the other. And they go to the vampire club, and this is black vampires, so they can go out in the daylight, which I think is really fun and such a neat twist to get on vampires. So you don't get that very often. And basically he sees her, and he's a guard for like the head vampire guy, and they kind of just make out and have a good time all around. And then we get set up for a really good sequel that we're getting this year, hopefully, on a world that I'm very intrigued by.
Yeah, I'm hoping this summer.
A different country than you live in.
Okay, so this is Australia. It's Upside Down by N.R. Walker, who is a queer author, and this is to Ace character and love interest. And Ace is a spectrum, but this particular book, neither one of them is interested in having sex at all. One of them already knows that they're ace, and one of them is kind of finding out for the first time, and you gotta watch that, you know, journey, realization, all of that. And it's really lovely banter, really funny humor. I think that if the humor works for you, you're gonna really enjoy the entire thing. But yeah, I love watching adults realize that
Mhm.
there are other people like them, and this is
Yeah.
really well done.
I did Something's Wrong with Us, which is a manga series as well. It's complete at 15 or 16 volumes. This is about a girl who is trying to figure out who actually killed or put her mom in jail. Didn't kill her mom, put her mom in jail because she was accused of murdering this guy's dad, basically. And it is the twistiest of turniest romances I think I've ever read, possibly. Because I feel like you finish a volume and you go, what? Wait. And then you continue. But like every other volume almost, you're just kind of left scratching your head trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And then at the end, it's really starting to come together here. But this is a great option for this. Any manga would be a good option for this. Like, I'm just trying to make people read manga, let's be honest. Like, that's half of my goal here.
If
Um,
you want to try manga, this is the perfect opportunity to do it.
yeah, I mean, this is just such an easy prompt to fulfill that with. So, but
Yeah.
if you want something kind of twisty, turny, and different, this would be a great option. Yep, you
Mhm.
could also do like the Heaven's Official Blessing. Any of those Donmi would work, but manga's a lot quicker to read. I will say that. Sports
Uh,
time, sports
Wild
balls.
Pitch by Kat Geraldo, and I think that this is on Izzy's TBR.
Hmm.
But this is baseball romance. He is a veteran catcher and she's a rookie pitcher. They are both bisexuals, and he's submissive and she's dominant. And yeah, this one is very steamy.
I liked that first chapter that I read,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's queer too. I believe the author.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Queer author.
So
This one sounds so good.
perfect. It's been on my radar for freaking ever, so I was like, I have to read it in June. I feel like,
And it's
just
shorter, right? I think.
yeah,
I'm not sure the page count, although I'll look it up. But it was a quick read. Because again, I don't care about baseball. I'm not
yeah.
into this of heroes. I was like, flew through it so quickly. Just
I thought it
really good
was
character
3
writing.
something, but yeah, everyone I know that's read it said it was so fast to read.
It's
Melissa's saying
347.
it's a slow burn. Okay, yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty readable. Uh, for me, I picked Cook Shy by Tegan Hunter. This is book 1 in her Carolina Comments series. Again, I think these are over 400 pages, or some of it they vary. But they read so fast, it's not even funny. I think every single one I picked up and finished in one sitting, or like 2 sittings at most, of like 2 to
You didn't
3
want to put
hours.
fucking
Like,
around on this list?
it's later. It's
Okay,
later.
I'm gonna read 800 pages.
That's
I
fine.
did put it on the list. It's under the over 500 page list.
Okay.
Because I read that in 2 sittings, which, listen, if you want to
That's
read a long
impressive.
book, that's that book that you tear through it. But this is like similar. This is a heroine who makes horror like themed props that she sells. Like, that's her small business that she does. And he's a hockey player. She breaks out on the side of the road and he gives her a ride, and she's like, this is a really bad idea. Like, constantly acknowledging how bad of an idea it is. And they just kind of start texting, and it's really cute and sweet. They're just kind of a nice like progression. And I just think it was fun to have a sports romance with a heroine that was not like typical Barbie-esque, if that makes sense. And that's the best part about the Carolina Comments. I don't feel like any of their heroines are just like the stereotypical hockey wife. They're all very different, and that's more real life in my opinion. But I feel like if you like see anything hockey, all hockey wives are like tall and blonde
Yeah, we
and
love
thin.
variety.
So I love the variety here. But yeah, this one's very funny and very different. I don't think I've read a heroine that had like a small business making horror props ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fake boyfriend fiasco. I actually read this last year during Amazing Readathon, for the like coastal setting prompt.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is like sports adjacent. Like it doesn't have a lot of actual sports in it, but he is a professional football player, European football. And she's kind of like done dating. She's kind of over it. And he needs a date or a girlfriend to go to this like team retreat. And so he pays her to be the girlfriend for the week. It is so steamy. there's a sex box.
Okay.
And it's also really short. I think it's under 200 pages.
I love that. This is like sitting on my Kindle to be read.
It's so good.
I don't even know if I knew that existed.
I forgot about it and they got recovered.
Yeah, they
maybe that's
redid the cover last year, and that's when I found it.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
I think it used to be called something else. Like she changed the title.
I think so. Well, it's like I have one of her box sets that you like can't get anymore.
Nice.
With her like the boss romance and like some of those. I have those like on my Kindle. And I forgot about them and somebody was talking about it. I was like, oh my god, I think I have those and I forgot these are even by Talia Hibbert. So
she wrote a shifter romance too. So
yeah.
I love that one, Mating the Huntress.
Yeah.
Delightful.
Yeah.
I want more of that from her, but who knows? We'll see.
Next thing is a Pride and Prejudice retelling.
Yes, I paid zero attention. I just see it come out and I buy.
Well, it's not.
That's how it works.
It doesn't have a cover or anything yet, so I mean, it's a ways away. But
Animal on the cover would be our next one.
Mine's Desperate Measures by Kaylee Robert. It's consensual non-consent because I like that, so I pick up books that have it. This is a Jasmine and Jafar romance. So if, like me, you watched Aladdin and you saw the hourglass scene and your little brain perked up with ideas, this is the book for you. But it's more like contemporary crime lords. Not a lot of Arabian Nights happening, but nonetheless.
Definitely a turn your brain off a little and ride with it. Like go with the flow of what's happening.
Where we're going.
Yeah.
And also I think this is probably not that like this is the only one that has animal on the cover, but this one I think is probably the weakest of the series.
Yeah.
A lot of people read this one and then are like, oh no, I don't like this series. But it gets this one's good, but it gets so
I think
better.
Ursula's the weakest of the series, but this is a close second.
I think this one only really works for you if you really like that dynamic. And
yeah, you have to like that dynamic.
And I think a lot of people don't. And I think a lot of people don't even know that it's a thing.
Yeah, I think some people don't even know they don't like it. And they're like, yeah, this is going to be great. And they're like, oh no.
Yeah, no. That's why
I
was happy.
Death's Obsession by Avina St. Graves. I read this, I think, last year during the readathon or right after. This is a heroine who had a near-death experience and keeps finding roses at work in different places. And turns out death has been stalking her.
I've heard you talk about this. I need to add this.
It's so fun. So death is basically stalking her. This is definitely like one of those ones that's going to work for some, not going to work for others, but I had so much fun with it. It was a random book talk video I got and I was like, oh, I need to read this. And then I read it and I was like, oh, this is really fun. But yeah, basically it's death trying to romance her and her like not really like she thinks she's losing her mind, obviously, because things just keep showing up. And it's just really interesting. And I love one of my weak spots is like if you tell me death is the love interest, I'm gonna read the book. Or DNF the book. Or DNF the book. I often DNF when death is the love interest, but that's it. This just says you have good taste. If you were like, what does liking Hooked say about me?
Yeah.
You enjoy fun things. Nothing wrong with it. Weapon on the cover. I went with Mistletoe by Kimberly Lemming because our sword is on the cover. And look, if you're going to have talking swords, we've got two options for you, I guess. So that's swords that do weird things. This is a really quick holiday novella that is really fun. You could probably read it without the context of the world completely. But I think if you read book one, it's nice to have that context a little bit because those characters show up. But it's just a very quick, like, winter festival situation where she is there and helping and I believe has to like teach them not to eat cinnamon like by the spoonful in this one.
This is actually my favorite Kimberly Lemming.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I don't know if I expected that. It was just fun. I had a good time.
The story. Mine, I changed a bunch of different times because I kept using it for other prompts and stuff. So I went with Ruthless Villains by Marianne Blackwood. This is not that good villain fantasy romance that I love. It's not good though. I understand what I'm telling you. It's not good, but
You're really selling it.
I like it. This is if you like villains and if you want two villains, backstabbing and also steamy every other page eating each other. It has dark, kinky sex while they are being forced to work together. So you have reluctant allies. The book opens with them trying to kill each other again. So they can't trust each other. And it's a 5-book series about this couple. And like halfway through, they're both in love with each other and they are like they can never find out. But that does not stop them from banging. So, you know. Also,
it's a 5-book series about the same couple.
He can make his hand vibrate, Izzy.
Wait, he's Bucky?
He has force magic. I think.
Oh, never mind. He's not Bucky.
He's not.
You're really excited. You're really excited.
You got really excited about that.
I was like, wait.
You can't read them back to back to back, but you know, here and there.
It's a fun cover.
I like the covers. I think they're very, very cute.
They're, I mean, listen, the cover caught my attention. 4.0 or higher on Goodreads. This is weirdly hard and easy.
Oh, really?
Of a prompt, I feel like. I don't know what this says about me. I think this is what I read, though. Like, a lot of manga has higher than 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I could just go with that. But I went with A Sign of Affection, which follows a girl who is in college, and she is deaf, so she uses sign language. And our hero here is a person who like travels the world a lot, and he is kind of asking for help on the train, and she can't talk to him. And when he finds out, he like starts learning sign language and trying to communicate with her, and it's really, really cute. So like it's just very like sweet romance where they're kind of developing feelings semi quickly because it's college set, and like she's having like all the bubblies about like first loves, and it's so precious. And they're very like just so sweet to each other that I'm like, oh, you guys are adorable. Just want to pinch you.
Cute. Mine is 768 pages. And when I tell you, I regret to inform you that you are going to read this book in a day. Like, you are going to pick it up and it's going to be unbelievably good. And then the next thing you know, you're done. So this has a 4.79 rating on Goodreads. Wow. And it has like 1,000 ratings. Like, it has more than a handful, right? So this is like forced marriage, arranged marriage, crime families, you know, doing their alliances, and it's actually like 2 romances in one. So you have 2 sisters and you have their POVs and their love interest POVs and like a couple other one-offs. But so you're really getting 4 POVs and it goes in chronological order. So you are kind of going in between everybody's. It does have a lot of content warnings, which you can find in my Goodreads review. I listed out as many as I could think of when I first read it, but it is a lot. One of the heroes has a very rough childhood. If you like alpha, if you like obsessed, if you like a little like a little dark but also worship, I'm telling you,
if you're desperate for a car on the cover.
There's a car on the cover.
I wanted to it does have a car. Oh my god. So car on the cover. I wanted to DNF this so badly. I was like, I do not want to read 800 pages. I don't want to read this. I'm going to try it and I'm going to DNF. And I regret to inform you that you will be
not going to play it.
The first page.
I read the first chapter. This is my try chapter for KU, and I was like, "Oh, this is good.
It's good. It's so good."
I might read it.
I read it in a day. It's so long.
Who knows? It is very long.
It flies by.
The nice thing about Sightseeing this year is that you can like hold it over multiple legs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there won't be nearly as many drop a book because the next prompt
Yeah.
drop. This
I
one no
really
longer
appreciate
works.
that part. Because especially with the 500-page prompts, which we'll get to, because I was like, what? Like, if it was at once, like you would have finished it in that leg, I'm like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So 400. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're doing really good. I'm proud of us.
Plus,
We're
like, I would
flipping through
rather
these.
read a 600-page book that I'm loving than a 150-page book that is
It's
just
fine.
like,
Oh,
Yeah.
same.
so.
But like, also, I know like sometimes a 600-page romance to fly through is very different than like a dense
Absolutely.
fantasy or something. So
For sure.
that can be helpful too. Yeah, 400 points. Okay. One word titles. This just went back in KU, so I felt like it was a good recommendation. It just got republished after getting picked up by, I don't remember who picked it up. I looked and I forgot. It's fine. This is another hockey romance and figure skater romance. So if you liked Icebreaker, but you want something angstier and with a little more substance to it, this could be a good option. This definitely is high on the angst. She is trying to keep her ice or her figure skating scholarship thing. Also taking care of her two younger brothers. Her dad is an alcoholic, so definitely keep your eye out on like content warnings here. So she is doing the most that she can. It's Atria. That's what it is. I was like, I remember looking and I was like, huh, it's not who I expected. But she is doing that, and he had an injury the last season where he hit his head and is like trying to get back on the ice and ends up showing up, and she's there in the mornings like really early skating to practice, and he kind of just keeps showing up when she's there to practice, and he's like, what are you doing here? So it's this like really hesitant friendship, and he's like also at the camps where her brothers are learning to like play hockey, and his dad's like a famous hockey player, and his parents are like super involved, which I enjoyed for a college romance actually, which sounds weird, but like I don't know, sometimes you're like, where are the parents? Like, what is going on? Your child was injured. Where the hell are you? Like, what is going on? And they really take her and her kid, like her brothers, like her kid brothers, under their wing and like are doing everything they can to help them. It's just really sweet. And like, I don't know, it was very angsty, but like very fun. Also, something I devoured very, very quickly. Like, I went in like, I'm gonna DNF this. I don't know, I don't like it. I was like, why is this so good? It's like, why is this so good? But yeah, it was a delight.
I love a supportive family in a romance.
Same.
Mine is Haven by Claire Kent. This is the companion series to Last Light, so it's all the same world. You'll see the Last Light characters in here, but for some godforsaken reason, Last Light is listed as a standalone, and this is a separate series. But every single title is one word, dystopian romance. This one is a farm that is self-sustaining, and they've kind of built a little community of people after the world ended by a meteorite. And her parents are dead. It was their farm, and she and this guy they weren't like foster brother and sister or anything, but he lived with them for a while, and he was still living with them when the world ended, so that's why they're there. So they've been running the farm and taking people in for years and years and years, and now they're sleeping together, but they're not together. And of course, like all of Claire Kent's books, he worships the ground she walks on, and she doesn't really know.
We love to see it. It's the best. Two authors. This is Monster Pucker by Cleo Evans and Ashley Bennett. I do believe they're queer authors, if I recall correctly. This is a Yeti and Krampus. I was like, I'm pretty sure one of the two at least is. So Yeti Krampus and a human female main character who are mates, the Yeti and the Krampus, and they play on the same hockey team. And our female heroine is a reporter who hides in a locker and watches them bone, and they smell her. It's a tall heroine as well, if anyone is like always on the hunt for that, because a Yeti and a Krampus are ginormous, of course. This is the one with the DP, if you're looking for that. But yeah, basically they catch her in the locker. They are like, oh my god, she's our mate. And they just kind of start going on dates. And there's like a really goofy, silly blackmail plot. But honestly, I think it's under 150 pages. It's so quick. It's very silly. It's very steamy. I could have done without the blackmail plot. Like that was the part where I was like, whatever. But I just had a fun time reading it. It was very goofy, and the setup of, like, a monster hockey league to me was very funny. In the world of hockey romances that we have now, they're like, "Monsters, sure, let's do it."
Mhm. Mine is Autumn of the Witch. This is a queer author duo by Iris Foxglove, and this one has chronic illness representation that is not cured by magic, so you don't have to be worried about that. So you have a toy maker, and he's kind of lost in the woods, and this like woodsman and finds him and takes him home to his wife, and they are a throuple. And this whole series, everyone is submissive or dominant. So this one, the wife is dominant, and also the toy maker is dominant. And the big burly guy is a submissive, but he is also a masochist. And so if you don't like pain as a kink, you might not like this one, but that's not present in all of the books in the series. But it is in this one. But I really liked the plot actually and the relationship. So
Non-human main character. I feel like this is my bread and butter. I was like, what is the weird things I can recommend? And that's gotta be Dahlia Davies. Railed by the Easter Bunny. Oh, you've not seen me talk about this book before? Don't worry,
No.
it tastes like marshmallows.
I think I've heard about this, but I had not seen the cover.
Oh yeah, she got covers redone, so they're all like this fantastic, like clinchy covers with
I love it.
Krampus and different things. But our love interest is a Easter Bunny god. This is a world with like a bunch of different gods that people worship, and she is trying to get out of a shitty relationship. So she goes to Mother Earth, or I don't know, whatever. And she's like, yeah, sure, but you have to give me a son or a child with my son. So she has to bone the Easter Bunny. And yeah, it tastes like marshmallows, if I recall correctly, which I thought was hilarious. And it's just a fun time. So, you know, they have to figure things out. And then there's like another book that follows them as well that I've still not read. But I read her Railed by Krampus as well. And that was also a very fun option.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying, monster romances for the non-human main character should be the go-to.
Mine is To Her Rescue by Drea Anderson. This is a witch and a bear shifter, and she has an inheritance, and her family is maybe trying to kill her, and he's going to swoop in and, you know, protect her and stand up for her and keep her safe and worship her and, you know, all the things. Low conflict, low angst, mostly just
Heather has a type,
cozy.
and it's all of these things.
It's these things.
There's not a third act breakup.
There is no third act breakup, people.
Heather's like, absolutely do not suggest that in my presence.
I can't help it. I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean that we're going to just separate?
Well, because I feel like third act breakups are always so overly dramatic, and it's like if you two would just have a conversation.
Yes. Listen, I love a third act that leads to therapy. That is always a delight. When it's like they had a third act breakup and then he's like, I've been going to therapy. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. That sounds great. Here we go. Yep. Yours. I was like, I feel like you have one coming.
Yes, I do. This is Slaying the Shifter Prince. I specifically put this on here for Heather's benefit.
On my team.
Have you read this one?
I haven't. I've had it on since your video.
Okay.
But I haven't read it.
I was like, I can't remember if you had actually read it or not. This is if you really liked The Cruel Prince, but you just wanted them to fuck.
Oh, okay. I'm sold.
See?
I feel that. See? I feel this deeply. Okay, cool.
He is a fae shifter, very cat-like in during the smut scenes, which is make or break for some people. But I didn't love this one, but I think if you're a Cruel Prince fan, it's very much a bully romance.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very much Juden Carden grown up.
Yeah. I mean, there's no chance it's going to be the weirdest thing I've ever read. So
no.
I was gonna say it would take a lot of work to weird me out at this point.
He's also an aerial dancer, and she definitely does it without any clothes on.
Love that for us. Honestly, everything about it does sound like something I'd be like.
It's part of the
Nice.
companion series to the Slaying the Shadow Prince. There's like
Yeah.
4, maybe 5
Mhm.
now, Slaying the Blank. And so they're
Yeah.
standalones, but they were all kind of like written together.
I feel like I've put every single one of them on my TBR and then never read a page of any of them.
You could definitely take the Frost King off of your TBR.
Oh,
It's
it's already gone. I
okay.
delete things like crazy. I'm like,
But these two
Heather says,
are
"What's a full KU?"
good.
yeah. We'll see if I get to them in June, huh?
Okay. It's fun. Only words on the cover. We have 1 book.
Okay, listen. Brie. No. Like
Brie,
Romance
this
doesn't really
prompt.
have this, which is not a big deal. It's only 1 sightseeing prompt. 1, you don't have to do it. And 2, you can just not get the
Maybe this was just like my subtle thing that like maybe people should read a nonfiction book during the month.
Maybe they should, because
Gross.
there's a lot of titles.
Gross.
There's a lot of good ones.
So this is Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Y. Davis. She is a queer author, so you would get that bonus. This is like a 6-hour audiobook, so a very quick read. Is an accumulation of speeches and interviews and essays, basically. So some of the content is a little bit repetitive because it is just kind of a compilation of her talking to different people about the same type of topics. But I actually really liked that about it. I think that helped you kind of absorb some of the message. And it's basically the tagline is Ferguson, Palestine, and the foundations of a movement. So this is written by someone who really knows what they're talking about, who has been an activist for decades. And if you're just, learning about these movements, or you have in the last 5 years or so, I think this is a really informative and, again, quick, just really good nonfiction that will add to your knowledge and is not overly heavy either, which can sometimes be an issue. So
I only have ones that I didn't love for this one or aren't out yet. So I can't I felt weird to include them because they wouldn't be out in time for the readathon. So
what a loser.
I mean, it's sci-fi, but it just Dark Matter by Blake Crouch just became like an Apple TV show. So I feel like the book is also getting a lot of hype.
Yeah.
So if you wanted that, it's not romance, but
yeah, I'm definitely listening to this audiobook. Romance, Punk 57 is the only one I could find off the top of my head that's out and available. I would feel like that counts. And then we had a Cat Sebastian one suggested in the chat that I feel like you could count. There's like a tiny heart on it. Take it or leave it. I don't know. I feel like that's your judgment. I wouldn't be mad at anyone for it.
This is one of those prompts that if you would be mad if another team counted it, then don't count it. But
yeah, to me, the heart is it's like a typeface heart. It's not like a, you know what I mean? So I was like, it's whatever.
Yeah. I'm also not policing these.
Yeah. The other one that's not out yet is Brittany C. Cherry's The Gravity of Us. The new cover is text only. So I have an arc of that. I might read that, but we'll see.
Okay.
With the new cover. But yeah. Plane, Train, or Car, the other one that we struggled with.
Struggle bus.
And I feel like tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up with 5 more of these, and I'll be like, where were these yesterday?
This is going to be where the thriller, Team Spooky is going to be I have this book and this book and this book. Because I feel every thriller has a lone road with one car on it.
Also, a mystery on a train. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
It's probably there.
Hey, at least you're not fantasy.
Right. But there is
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Urban fantasy.
There's urban and there's some historical fantasies that have trains.
Yeah. There's options. There's just not as
There's
many.
some options. There is some options. But yeah, so I have Hairpin Curves here by Elia Winters. This is an older sapphic romance that came out a while ago. Obviously, it's older. This follows 2 former friends on a road trip, reigniting their friendship, but also their relationship. It's pretty steamy because it's from the Karina Adores line. So that's great. It's a fun road trip from Florida to Maine or something. It's very far. They get snowed in. You kind of get a lot of the tropes along the way because it's a road trip. So it enables a lot of that. They're working through a lot of their issues that caused their friendship breakup, but then also progressing into the romantic side of things. It's really, really cute, really fun. I had a blast with this years ago when it came out, and I think it's just a great option.
Yeah.
Covers one thing, so.
Mine's On the Edge by Lona Andrews. This is an author duo. This is an urban fantasy romance. This is not really the place that I would recommend starting with Lona Andrews necessarily, but it does have a car on the cover, and you can start here. This is if you like some like horror elements into your fantasy, because some of the magic stuff is a little bit dark. And I will say this book is old. There's some dated language in it that you won't find in any of their more recent books. So, you know, it is what it is. It came out a long time ago, but it's not a ton. It's just a little bit that, you know, if it was being released in 2024, I would be DNFing. So, it's a Fae Prince comes to the trailer park, basically. In the bayou is what you can expect.
It's a very interesting series.
It's incredibly unique. Found family, like they write some of the best found family you're ever going to read.
Yeah. There we go.
I haven't read this one, but I specifically saved it for this prompt. Like I'm pretty sure I had an arc of it, and I know I like pre-ordered the book and got it in April, and like this would have been like an automatic read immediately book, but I knew that this prompt would be difficult, and me knowing prompts 3 months ago, I was like, nah, I'm gonna save this one for June.
Fair.
So this is Allison's newest book. It's like a road trip where I don't remember exactly where they're going, but they were friends in high school, and then they had a falling out, and then now like they're forced basically back in the car again, and then probably forced proximity is going to turn to feelings.
Love it. I also have this one on my team.
I'm like, no, we're going to save this one.
Tale as old as time. One person on the cover. I picked Manage. This is a hard one to pick. This is a longer read, but also very quick. This is book 2 in Kristen Callahan's VIP series. This follows Scotty, who is the manager of a band, and Sophie, who is she does like the marketing for the bands, like the influency marketing stuff, like pictures and stuff, but like it's not pre-influencer, but it's like not where we're at now in influencer stuff, if that makes sense. So she's kind of their photographer and stuff, but it turns out she was there when one of the members of the band had their lowest moment. And so when she shows up, there's a lot of tension, but their meet cute is incredible because they are on a flight from America to London, and he likes to fly with a seat empty next to him. Like he specifically reserves like 2 seats in first class. Well, his assistant put Sophie in the other seat because he has panic attacks on flights. So she just talks to him nonstop the whole flight, basically. And it's like a very like, he doesn't not like, he likes her, but he does not like her because she is like torture to him kind of. And then lo and behold, as time progresses, like he can't sleep if she's not there. And they're like slipping off to be together. And it's so good. It's like that kind of old school romance vibes in a newer book. It does have some dated language. I will say that because it is older as well. Like 2010s, I think. So things we wouldn't necessarily see today, but one of my all-time favorite reads. So I was like, of course, we have to pick it.
It's a good one. Mine's Sugar Sugar by Lady Marie. This is a sugar baby romance. So she has been his sugar baby for like 3 years, and they've never done anything physical. That's not part of their agreement or anything like that. It's not even an option, but they have always been really attracted to each other. And in this novella, we take it there. We act on it. And again, he worships the ground that she walks on. So, you know, he worships at the altar.
I also have this on my potentials list of what I would wreck. So
it's a quick read.
Involving a game. So I feel like this prompt has a lot of contention around it.
What?
I'm interpreting a game as things that are not a sport necessarily, but also could still be like a tournament of skill or things like that. But Hollows Grove by Lee Jacott follows a group of friends, and this is a best friend's brother romance. They go to this mansion for Halloween and are playing a game of like Clue in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up like following her around a bunch, and they end up boning, of course, because like tensions get high enough that they're like, we have to do this. These novellas are really, really fun and just a blast. And I was like, you could even do the 4-leaf, which has like primal play, I feel like, because their game is like he's chasing her. You know, things like that can count. Can trials be games?
Yep.
I think so.
Basically,
yeah.
like if it's not a physical sport. Like
Mhm.
So I guess like trials would probably like it depends on what the trial is. Because if it's more of like a physical like jousting tournament or whatever, it's a sport.
Yeah.
But it kind of just depends.
I would see like I even think about like the Katie Robert one. Oh my gosh, what is the Cruel Seduction?
Wicked Beauty, yeah.
I was like, hold on.
I think
I would consider that a sport.
Good examples of the lines might be the Hunger Games and ACOTAR, like those.
Mm-hmm.
Would you count both of those? Because most people are going to understand those references. You know.
Yeah. I feel like Hunger Games would be like I mean it's a game because it's a Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games. Right?
It's very much going to be like up to your interpretation. If you guys
I think
if you think it counts. Like if it's football, it's a sport. It's not a game.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because I could see the argument for Wicked Beauty being a game because there is kind of some brain stuff there. It's not just like not that playing sports doesn't require brains. I just mean like I feel like there's can be more
There's
involved.
the mental aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you guys really want to know a secret, those 2 prompts shouldn't have been in there. I should have taken one out. But I made these prompts across like probably about a month time span and forgot that one of them was still in there.
I feel like I know people have been like questioning it, but to me, I'm just like, all right, well,
it's pretty clear. Like
one's a game.
In my mind, it's pretty clear. Like to me, this is like a game because like they're playing a game at the house, right? They could play video games for a chapter, and that could count. I feel like I feel like people are overthinking.
Next slide.
I was gonna say, Heather, do you have the next slide?
Yeah. This could kind of be an isolated setting. I feel like because they are kind of like in a mansion out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree.
Here you go, Heather.
Mine's Level Up by Kathy Yardley. They are video game developers, and they are working on a game. And she is very introverted, and they're roommates, and he just views her as one of the guys. And then that changes eventually.
I think your other host favorite. I thought you were actually going to count that one, or you were going to be recommending that one.
Role playing also would definitely
count. Yeah,
that they meet on a online game forum. So and also introvert representation. So yeah.
The book Slay would also be a game and not a sport. So yeah, it's up to your interpretation, but like I feel like it's pretty fair to like I don't know. My brain can differentiate them, but I don't know why. It's been easy for me. Over 100,000 reviews on Goodreads. I went with the classic Ice Planet Barbarians here because I feel like it's just they're fun, they're quick. It would be an easy read. Only the first book has over 100K though, so do know that. But yeah, I think this is a fun one. You know, they end up on an ice planet and they don't speak the language and they have like weird penises, so like that's fun. Like what's not to love? But this one definitely check the content notes. The new edition, if you read it physically, does have some of the stuff edited out or down on the darkness because you can tell when Ruby started writing this series, it was going a different direction than it eventually went. It went more cozy, fun, and this first book definitely leans a little darker, heavier. But it's really fun and interesting setting. I think they're just really readable at the end of the day, which to me is key for sightseeing prompts. So
I do
feel like another game.
Another one where if you like it, you like it. If you hate it, don't try and push through because of the hype.
No.
It's not for you.
No, and that's fine.
I keep seeing people do that with like that series specifically. I'm like, no, if you don't like it at the beginning, you don't like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like they're reading like the book 6 and they've given every single one of them 2 stars. I'm like, why are you still
I
reading
would
it?
never, baby. I would never.
And I love that series, but I will tell you there are problems. Like from the get-go, there are problems with it, but it's just like fun. Like if I want fun, cozy aliens, Ruby Dixon, go to.
Mine is Magic Bites by Alana Anders. This is the first book in the Kate Daniels series, who is a mercenary who is kind of downplaying her abilities. And she's actually on a murder mystery because her old guardian got killed, and she's trying to figure it out. And she has forced to work with the Beast Lord of the Shifters. They have a very antagonistic, reluctant ally.
She literally calls him Kitty.
To lovers relationship. He's a lion shifter, and he's very fearsome, and she's very impressed.
Yeah, that's why she says here, kitty, kitty.
She's definitely not like, okay. But this is one of those series where there's such a power couple. You have two people who meet each other perfectly at where they are, and that's what I want.
Kate Daniels could count for quite a few prompts. So
yes, Kate Daniels counts. Animal on the cover, weapon on the cover, one person on the cover.
yeah, you got options here.
Two authors. Just saying.
Yeah, 2 authors.
Just on the side prompts. We got that. There's a game. I think book 3 is games, maybe. Whichever. There's a gladiator game thing in one of them.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Authors who use initials. Another very hard one in romance, but also easy once you like stop overthinking it. I went with the risk.
Go on KU, you'll probably find something.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask just for people, other people, are we counting a single middle initial like Kate C. Wells? Are we counting that, or does it need to be like ST Abby? I don't care either.
Rhea's like, I have no desire to monitor that or deal with it.
Policy.
See, my brain was overthinking it to the 2 and not to just a middle initial necessarily.
Yeah, I think
but if you'd be mad that somebody else was counting one initial, then don't count your own.
No, I mean, I would count one initial. My brain overcomplicates things sometimes. So it's fine. Yeah, Kate Daniels would count as romance.
Yeah.
There's like a massive romantic subplot through the whole series, I feel like.
Yes.
Especially if you're at past book 1. Like if you're reading book 2 on.
There's romance in every single
There's romance
book.
in every single one. Yeah.
Because it follows one couple for 10 whole books.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like the Risk or the Mindfuck series by ST Abby is a great option for sightseeing prompts because not only can you hit a lot of things, but they're really quick, fun reads about a serial killer and an FBI agent. She's killing people and he's trying to find her, and he does not know that she is the one doing it, at least at first. I'm assuming at some point we have a reveal. I've not finished the series, but they're just really fun and digestible reads. I do believe there's an audiobook out with all of them in that at this point. So
yeah, I think they're all on Hoopla.
Yeah, I was like, I think they're on Hoopla, but I'm not.
You just end up having to use like 4 credits, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's fine. I get like 10 a month. It's fine. I'll survive.
Mine is The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. This is the author of Anne of Green Gables. This is my nostalgic favorite book of all time. So she is a 28-year-old who has always lived under her family's thumb, and she gets a diagnosis that she's not going to live past a year, and she decides to live according to her own morals and her own terms. And she has a marriage of convenience to a man who does not love her, but she loves him, and they have a wonderful year together. And then she finds out she's gonna live, and it ruins everything.
Oh no.
It's my favorite third act breakup. So take that as the best recommendation ever, because I don't like breakups, but this one's really well done. Again, it was written 100 years ago, so but honestly, this one surprisingly unproblematic.
That's kind of surprising, but interesting. Okay, birthday months. So I had went through already and taken host favorites and put them into birthday months. that were romances, because obviously this is romance, so we're gonna focus on romance as much as we can here for this one. But yeah, we've got 12 racks.
Yep.
One for each month, because listen, we're just gonna make it easy for you.
There you
That
go.
is my goal. I'm like, you don't want to make a choice, just go look at the list. Done.
Yeah.
Here you go. Heather, do you want to do the Christina and I'll do the Christina Lauren?
Maybe Next Time by Christina C. Jones. It's a novella. It is a marriage in trouble. They had a miscarriage and that did really affect their marriage. So content warning for that historically. And she serves him with divorce papers and he's like, absolutely not. And he kidnaps her on vacation.
It's so good.
to try
We
and
fought
work
for this
on their
book.
marriage.
I was like, you can have it, Heather, because I'm such a good friend.
Right. It is our favorite.
It is. It's such a good book. Beautiful Bastard is one of the early Christina Laurens, so go in expecting a lot of smut, because that's what these are. These are actually former fic. These are former Twilight fics. This one is I think his secretary. I was like gonna pull it up while you talked, and I did not do that. I read in like 2010. Okay, this was like early romance reader me. They came out in 2013. I probably read it in 2013. Yep. She is a hardworking at her place. He's her boss. She's working on her MBA. He like basically just bosses her around a bunch. Workplace romance. They're fun. These are very fun. Like if you like a workplace romance and kind of like a bossy hero, you're gonna have a good time. Then March and April.
Yours Forever by Leonore Solis. This is a marriage of convenience. He's a billionaire, and he wants to stick it to his dad, basically. So he is very intent on getting the specific inheritance, and that requires a marriage. And then she's a regular middle-class person who is really very invested in her small town and really wants to bring prosperity to them and tourism trade and stuff. So he's going to pay her many millions of dollars to be married to him for a year. And he's basically obsessed with her from the beginning. And she's like, yeah, no, everybody leaves. I'm not getting invested. So she is maybe more standoffish than she should be, but he wins her over eventually.
We got the new Emily Henry Funny Story, which is also Host's favorite. I've not read this, but I know it. Okay, I was like, I don't think any of us have. I was looking on Goodreads. I was like, have any of us read this yet?
I've heard it's her best one, though.
I've heard that too, several times.
And
like I was gonna be done with Emily Henry, but now I have FOMO.
So I feel like I keep reading her because everyone loves her, and I just want to be in the conversation, right? But this one I'm kind of interested in because it's like two people who got left by their partners for like their partners left them for the other partners. And she's in this small town, and he's like trying to make her fall in love with this town in Michigan. I believe it's in Michigan. And it's their romance. I'm intrigued, but also like very much aware that I may hate this. I've only really liked one Emily Henry to date, so I don't know.
I have been told that it's less like it's more like Book Lovers in the fact that it's less romance, more contemporary.
See, and I liked Book Lovers in a way because I felt like all the other ones were lacking so much other things that I like in books. So I don't know. We'll see. I think the setup here also really helps. It's very different. So maybe. Then we have May and June. So for May, I put Only for the Week again. I already talked about it. But again, if you want a really steamy but also like drama-filled book, this is a great option. Very quick read. Delightful. And you'll have a new book boyfriend that you can fight me and everyone else for, named Rome.
Alma the Witch, this is a repeat. Queer author. I think it's around 200 pages. So if you like fantasy romance at all, as long as you like some BDSM, you'll be okay. July! Role-playing!
Both of these are you.
I love this book so much.
It's so good.
demisexual awakening, realizing that demisexuality is a thing and he's not broken. He's bisexual, 50-year-old, and they are both extreme introverts, and he is a little bit of a doormat and she is not. She will fight you.
And she does fight. She fights his family at the end. It's so good.
The most horrific thing that could happen to an introvert happens in this book, and she takes care of it for him, and I just appreciate that.
It's so good. I have not read this Christina C. Jones, Heather. So
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No.
First perspective. This is a novella. What was this one? Oh, I think that this was not the one that I was thinking, actually, because I don't think I like this one all that much.
Oh no!
I like
That's what you put
for this more.
Oops.
This one was fine, but it came out in August, so if you need that prompt, here you go. This is they're standalone, interconnected novellas, but this one they are both business owners, like across the street from each other. But yeah, I didn't love this one. I don't know why it's here, but the ones before this really good.
But it wasn't out in August, I guess.
I guess not.
We're really together.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the one I liked. Let me look.
Okay, hold on. We gotta check this because I'm like very concerned. Heather's out here wrecking books she didn't like.
Well, listen, it was Christina C. Jones. It wasn't terrible.
Even a bad Christina C. Jones is so good. So
it wasn't the worst. Oh, that's not how you spell perspective, people. Get your act together. Oh, this is the first one. I love this one. This one's amazing. You're gonna love it too. Do I remember what this was about? No idea. Withy Reed says friends with benefits. So
there you go.
I gave it a high rating. I don't remember. I don't know. It's good. It's Christina C. Jones. You really can't go wrong.
You really didn't write much here for this description.
Listen, I think that this was a pregnancy book, maybe. Like she was actively pregnant while... No, that's a lie. Ignore that.
No, that's not anywhere in these reviews. Okay, we're just gonna move on. September. Brie, I have a book that I have to make you talk about because I haven't read it yet. So
you haven't?
No.
So this is one of her male romances with a pansexual main character, and he has a one-night stand in the back of an alley behind a bar, and then the next day it's his new boss. So that's fun.
I love it. I'm probably reading it for the readathon at some point, so we'll see. But I saw it on your favorites. I was like, okay, cool. I finally have a reason to actually pick it up. Not like I was avoiding it. Just sometimes I set author stuff back, and I just like don't circle back. Yeah, is Slashed you, Heather?
Yeah, Slashed by Talia Sanchez is a it's a Halloween novella, but you definitely can read it year round and would, especially I feel like if you like slasher movies, although I don't, and I loved it. So they are at a haunted house and one of the scare actors is going to bang her in the house, and then maybe he wasn't actually an actor. Maybe he was really killing people. Maybe. It's hard to say. Anything could happen.
That sounds fun. What a good October release.
It was pretty good.
It was very on brand.
Yeah.
Okay, then November, we have The Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate, which I loved. This was a very different shifter romance, which is what I appreciated from Kate C. Wells. This is the thing with Kate C. Wells. I feel like she will take a thing that you're like, oh yeah, I know this, and somehow it's different and just unique in a way that you don't expect. Yeah. This follows a heroine who is kind of off on her own with these other women who don't have mates and are living in this house and kind of ignored and neglected, and they're like trying to run... It was like mushrooms or something weird.
She had mushrooms and honey. She has a contraband honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A contraband honey and mushroom business. And he rejected her as his mate like years ago when they were very young, and he's basically forgotten about it. And it happens again, and he rejects her publicly again. And she's just kind of like, fuck this, I'm getting out of here. And like they have like a contraband phone, like all this stuff. So they're like, these women are in this house, like, we're done. We are over the shit. We want to get out. And he finds out and starts like finally coming around to like protecting her and these women as well, and fixing the pack and the issues within their pack. It's so good.
It's one of my host favorites. It's again one of those ones where you start the book and you hate him so much. But also you have his POV throughout the book, and you understand that he's just
trying to fix things. Even though he's not fixing them.
He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's not being malicious either. And then Yours Insatiably by Vita Weiss. There is a prequel novella called Feed. There's a prequel novella for both of the Vita Weiss books that I've talked about. But this one is a non-binary moth fairy and a succubus. And it's workplace romance. And yeah, queer author. Monster romance.
I'm reading this as well. This is on my
It's only taken me 5 years, but we're here. We've arrived. The time has come.
Okay, that makes me sad. 4 a.m. is way too early.
It's so early.
I cannot. My body would die. But yeah, you've done almost all of them. I literally would die, I think. 500 pointers, so we're almost there. We're doing good. We're ahead of schedule.
Are we?
So, we are. I don't think these are going to take an hour.
Your math is off. We're at 2 hours. You know that, right?
Are we at 2 hours? Oh yeah, we are. Never mind. You know why? Because I'm thinking about Central Time and you're in Eastern.
You can just look at the red numbers in the top corner.
Yeah, I know, but I'm looking at the time it is right now, and I was thinking 10:30 my time, not 10:30 your time. My God. Calm down, Heather. Time zones are hard.
Time zones are hard. It just literally says 2 hours in the corner, but you're fine.
We're close. Exactly 5 words in the title. So Black Panther and Sweet 16 is a manga series that is going to be very only for certain people. Like, it's weird but fun. She basically takes this delinquent kid on as a pet because he forces himself on her because he likes her. And it's weird. It's their like bantery weird relationship back and forth. It's in KU though, and it's very fun. So if you like kind of that sort of thing, if that sounds appealing, or you need a book set in a school because they go to school together, it could work for you really well. I've enjoyed these. I devoured them really quickly. What?
I'm adding it to my
okay. I was like, what? Yeah, it's just a really easy one to try. Don't judge all manga on this. Because it's definitely one of those ones that's just very different, but it's of its age. Like, when it was made, it fits like some of the stuff that was coming out then.
Yeah, all of this series by Talia Hibbert has 5 words in the title, so I feel like that's a very easy one if you haven't already read them. Yeah. I mean, it's a queer author and really good representation of a lot of different disabilities and sexualities and just adulting, you know?
She runs him over with our car in this one too, which is great. Perfect meet cute.
He was such a grump.
He was such a grump. And they're both autistic in this one, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Okay. A book with footnotes.
This is according to the interwebs. I haven't actually read this.
I didn't like this.
Yeah, you didn't like it, but it had footnotes, right? That's the important thing. I think this one is written in diary entries, right?
Yes.
I feel like no one mentions that, and I personally feel like that's important to note.
Yes, it is in diary entries, and it does have footnotes. Our hero is a disaster and kind of the worst, but it all comes together on why. And she's also like, I think it's for me, it suffered because it was only diary entries, because I think I needed more in the moment and less of her like, this is what I did today. Personally. But a lot of people love this book. So it is definitely a good option for footnotes.
Right.
I don't know that I would necessarily call it a romance, though. At least not the first one.
No, the first one's definitely not. But I know a lot of people are struggling to find footnotes, so I feel like valid. I know that Idol by Kristen Callahan supposedly has footnotes, but that's also like 400 and some pages. But it is a 500 pointer, so like,
yeah,
you know, I'm gonna reread Desperate Measures from Patreon because she gave us the new copy with footnotes. So that's my plan.
If I read this for footnotes, I'll probably spread it out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true too. You could really spread this one out because of how it's told.
Yeah.
I never felt the urge to like not put it down when I read it.
Because I don't want to sit there and read hundreds of pages of diaries. I've done that with Becca Cooper by Tamora Pierce, if anybody ever read that trilogy. And yeah, I've never done it since, so obviously.
Apparently Daisy Hates also has footnotes. That's a series that's never interested me, so I don't know. I don't know if I like books with footnotes always.
It's hard for romance.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part.
Like fantasy and sci-fi, those work really well for.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the audiobook was good. The audiobook is the only reason I finished this book. So who knows? Maybe I'll read book 2. I did just get it in from the library, so
I feel like
I end up reading it.
Is one of those many things where it's like I've read books with that, but I could not tell you which books.
It's like POV.
I don't know.
I can tell you when it didn't work. I don't necessarily notice when it works for the book.
Yeah. I don't remember.
So, fourth in a series. I picked one that I felt like you could read without reading all the other books in the series if you really wanted to.
Right.
But also if you were like, I am going to try the Wicked Villain series and I somehow have not read it yet. The Beast is the 4th book in this series, and this follows Belle, Gaston, and the Beast in there are Adam. Is his name Adam in this one? I don't remember. Either way, it's their throuple and it's delightful. There's very much like a give and take because they both want Belle and they're kind of hesitant at first for all 3 of them to be together, but it's delightful and a wonderful interpretation of a steamy version of the 3 of them getting together in a mafia-esque world.
Mine's Hero. They're at an isolated cabin in the dystopian world. So he is her stepfather's younger brother. And because of that, they were all trying to survive together. And most of the people that were part of their group, including his girlfriend and her parents and everything, they've died. So now it's just her, him, and his young daughter. And this is an isolated setting, especially at the beginning. They're at this cabin and, they've been here for years and they're running out of resources. And she despises him. He was a very doesn't take things too seriously type of person before the world ended. And she was like a straight A honor student, gonna be a like microbiologist or, something like that. So they were just very different personalities. And now, after much forced proximity, she still doesn't like him. And, she maybe their first hookup is one of the greatest encounters I've ever read because she didn't see it coming. And it was really good. And that's all I'm going to tell. I'm not going to tell you what they say because that will ruin it. You should just read it for yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to read Claire Kent this month. It's fine, Heather.
Are you?
I might.
I am. I have books 6 and 7 I haven't read yet. I'm saving them. I will be reading them during the readathon.
Sorry, I'm summoning Carl in the FAQ Discord. Love Carl. All vowels on the cover for the next one. So Honey So Sweet, between our author and the title, we have all the vowels on the cover. This is another one in the Viz Media app. She is nice to a delinquent boy. I love a delinquent boy in like my shoujo mangas because it's just so fun. Because it's never like anything that super serious usually either.
Mhm.
They're just like they skip class, so they're a bad boy, and
Right.
it's just so funny. Like it fits, right? You're in high school, of course. But she's nice to him, and he decides that they need to get married when they're like adults. So he starts romancing her, and I read volume 1, adorable, and I'm gonna continue it. So I think it's a great option again in the Viz Media app to pick up pretty cheaply. Also older, so you might be able to find it used or other places like at the library and stuff.
Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This is very popular and for a good reason. This is very funny and sweet, cozy fantasy romance. I think there's a lot more romance than some people expect in this. And witches, you know, it's our world but with witches, but the world doesn't know about witches, so they really have to keep a low profile. And witches aren't supposed to spend time together, and they have these 3 young witches living together at this house, and they have these caretakers, and the grumpy librarian is one of them. But none of the caretakers are witches, and they really need someone to help the girls learn to control their magic. And so that's where she comes in, and he's very standoffish, and it's a delightful Grumpy Sunshine. Really great children characters and also really great older characters, and it had a lot more plot than I had expected. I was very pleasantly surprised by everything in this book.
Also, there's a car on the cover.
The car.
How many cars on the cover are we gonna find now? I loved this book. It was so good. A book Brie gave 5 stars.
Dun, 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 dun.
Technically, all of them I gave 5 stars.
I know. The only reason they're all not here is because we already talked about one of them. So I was like, well, I'm gonna take a hint, Danny Brown, because Zaf is like the epitome of a romance hero to me. Like he is so sweet, he's so soft. He will do anything for Danny, who like doesn't know how to deal with him. And then also her romantic gesture to him at the end of this book, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you haven't read the Brown Sisters. I don't know what you're doing with your life.
Also, he listens to romance audiobooks, and
yes,
one time his headphones don't work,
which is also fantastic.
Relatable. Mine's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I mean, need I say more? But this is the original, I feel like, enemies to lovers, kind of Grumpy Sunshine. All of the humor and all of the wit, if you've ever watched any of the TV or movie adaptations, that's all Jane Austen. She was a genius. So it I mean, it's hundreds of years later, and it's just as good.
I love this prompt, though. Also, it was a really fun, like, scrolling through your Goodreads, trying to figure out what I wanted to pick. I was like, what am I going to read? What am I going to recommend? There's so many options. A book written before 2001. So I went with a classic Lisa Kleypas, Dreaming of You. This has Derek Craven, who is a fantastic romance hero. I love this book. I think it's a really great one. If I wasn't going to be reading a Beverly Jenkins for this prompt, I probably would have reread Dreaming of You. But Derek Craven has like a whole day dedicated to him from the Fated Mates Romance podcast. He is basically mistaken as a gentleman caller, like to come help her take care of her problem of being a virgin. Like she assumes that's who he is when he shows up, this heroine, Sarah. And he is not, but he decides to go along with it and make things happen.
Make things happen.
You know. But yeah, he basically helps her transform from a mouse to this like goddess woman, and he worships her very much so. And also just like it's so fun, and it's a very, I don't love every Lisa Kleypas I read, but this is one that I really, really love. And in fact own like original editions of. So it's a good option. It came out in 1994 originally. So it's well below the threshold. Yeah.
This prompt is because season 1 of The Amazing Race happened in 2001.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's perfect, though. That makes sense. I wondered what caused it. I was like, this is such a random year.
Yeah, season 1 of The Amazing Race was in 2001.
I was like, either you were like, I'm going to make the romance readers have to go read some old historicals.
Listen, it's going
And
to be
everyone
harder
else
for some
angry.
other genres.
And everyone else angry, or there's a real reason.
There's a real reason.
Mine is The Devil's Bride by Stephanie Lawrence. This is a grumpy, bad reputation Duke. And I just remember this meet cute. There's also like a little bit of a murder mystery. There's a meet cute in the pouring rain, and they're like stuck together, and he's obsessed with her. I have a archetype that I like, so that's what I remember
really do.
about this one.
Name in the title. I went with this trilogy of the Them Boys by Alexandria House. Easily could fit some other prompts too. But Set is book 1. This one is about two people that keep hooking up together repeatedly and then slowly find their way together. These are, I think, all on Hoopla on audio. They're very quick, very short and steamy reads, but really, really fun. I think they give you a good taste for Alexandria House's writing as well. And book two, I think it is, does have cheating in it, so do know that going in. If that's not your thing, that's probably my least favorite. But Set and Shoe, which are book 2 and 3, are my favorite. And all of them are one-word titles, name in the title. You kind of got it all, like, going on for a couple prompts there. So, yeah, a really good steamy option.
Book 3 was my favorite, too. Run, Posey, Run by Kate C. Wells is by far, I think, my favorite dark mafia romance book. So they have been together for a long time when the book starts, and he thinks that she's cheating on him, so he kicks her out. And turns out he's actually a psychopath, and she had no idea. And now the mask is off, and he kicked her out and immediately was like, actually, I really don't like not having her here. So he tracks her down and brings her back, and he wants everything to go back to how it was, and she's like, you're a psychopath.
Oh, no.
You don't even love me. We will not be doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe he's obsessed with her, and maybe
he has to kidnap her to get her back. Who knows?
Maybe she's his person. I love psychopaths and like obsessive.
Yeah.
I love that trope. So
this is one of my all-time favorite books.
Good one. Read it multiple times. Can't go wrong.
This is just my personal recommendation for Heather to read. Delilah Green Doesn't Care.
Because I was going to put all 3 covers, but I got
today I learned that Heather has not read these.
I haven't even come close. I mean, it's on the TBR now, but
I'm surprised you haven't even come close to reading these.
Yeah, but I read mostly indie underhyped romance. I don't know. I don't read a lot.
Listen, this one will just make your heart happy. It's kind of grumpy sunshine. I actually think Astrid Parker is my favorite of the 3, but they were all 5 stars for me.
Interesting. I don't think a lot of people would say Astrid is their favorite. So.
Yeah, I think Shay and I are the only 2.
Wow.
Because I actually didn't like Astrid in Delilah Green, but then she has this.
I'm waiting for the mom's novella.
Me too.
We bullied her at Parnassus that we need the mom's novella with her sapphic awakening.
That would be fantastic.
I'm just saying. Over 500 pages. The book you were asking about, Brie.
There we go.
It's here. The 600+ page book that I finished in 2 sittings. You can read about the first 50 to 60% of this and take a break and then finish pretty easily, like in no time, because it is a polyamorous relationship. There are 3 love interests and our heroine. And, if I had a nickel for every time we had like a surprise tentacle dildo in a romance book in the last year that I've read, I've got 2 at least. So I'm just saying, why not have some fun? Okay, you've got some Astrid lovers here too.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. But yeah, this is a really fun, really great queer author writing a queer romance where we have our heroine, Rachel, who is coming to be the PT on the team. And she and this guy had one night stand. And of course, when she shows up, she's like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, this is really great news. but she thinks he like hates her and is like mad that she's there, even though she had no idea he was there. So we have like golden retriever hero, we have like our bad boy, and we have our like very grumpy goalie.
Mhm.
Fantastic. For a long book, it reads much faster than you would expect.
Yeah.
Which I don't really read long books. Like this is like the bane of my existence, this prompt. So
mine's The Gamble by Kristen Ashley. If you don't like the writing and you don't like the characters at the beginning of this book, just go ahead and DNF. They're not going to grow on you. So this is a woman going on a vacation by herself to kind of decide if she should go through with her engagement or break it off. And she has booked this cabin, and then the owner of the cabin is there, and he's not supposed to be. It's not like a tiny cabin. It's like a huge lodge house. Mm-hmm. And there's a snowstorm, and they're snowed in together, which all of that actually is over with pretty quickly. But he's very alpha. It's romantic suspense. I've read this book twice and couldn't remember the twist the second time. It was surprised all over again. So Kristen Ashley is like my favorite author, but her writing is very polarizing. You're either going to really like it or really despise it. Yeah, and if you hate it, don't read 660 pages of it. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. But if you love it, you know, I'd read a longer book. So
less than 1,000 ratings. And this is the last one, I think. So this is Janine, His True Alpha by Chinika C. Higgins. She has a more popular book that came out with Carina, the Kristen Devon Plan a Wedding. Yes. This is one of her older indies. This was another really fun shifter romance. This is about a girl who's taking care of her brother, who is a shifter, and they need to like join the pack, and she's very like reluctant and hesitant to do so because they kind of want to exclude her, and she ends up being mated to the alpha. So it's their romance, and it's this like small town in like West Texas, I think, which is really random for a setting. I felt like, yeah, it is West Texas. So you kind of get this set up for a trilogy with some different heroines as they find their true mate. But it was fun. It took all the things you expect in a werewolf romance and just kind of delivered them on a platter where you were like, this is fun. This is a good time.
Mine is Love Kills Twice by Rian Gray. This is a queer author. This is romantic suspense where a woman hires an assassin to kill her husband and then falls in love with them. It is a 4-book series. It does devolve maybe a little bit, but this first one I really liked. Yeah, it had an interesting twist also, but the assassin is non-binary, and there is quite a bit of discussion about body dysmorphia, and that plays into some of the sex scenes and stuff, and I just really liked the way that it was handled in the book and included in the book.
I love that. This has also been on my Kindle for a while. And then I never read it. Yeah. Oh, that is the wrong button. I'm trying to remove. There we go. I removed it. I can do things. But yeah, that's 100 and some books for y'all to potentially read for the amazing readathon. Does anybody have questions before we run off here? Just about anything before we bolt? But we appreciate you hanging out. Like I said, I know it's a lot, but I'll throw up timestamps later and links to books somehow. I don't know. I gotta figure that out.
I would not.
That would be a very.
I think I can do a Amazon storefront situation. I don't think I can link 100. I don't think I can link directly 100 books. I think YouTube would yell at me. They would be like, "This is too many characters." Nor do I think I have the patience. So I'll slowly add them there. If you're like unable to find them, I think most of these are pretty. When you type them in, should pop up. There's a couple of the Christina C. Jones that don't always.
Yeah, some of them Amazon kind of hides. It's like I gave you literally all the info. Why are you not showing me the book I'm talking about? But
because it's adult fiction and it has inappropriate things in it that we're not supposed to be reading because we have problems,
right?
According to these people.
Just a reminder: if you made it through the live and are unaware, the host favorite, the genre bonus, and the queer author bonus apply to any prompt. None of the other prompts go together. It's one or the other. So you can't double stack. All the ones that we said, fit multiple prompts, you got to pick one of those. But those bonuses, they work for anything that they work for. So it's not that complicated.
And
you got this.
We get our first prompt on Friday, and we start reading at midnight Mountain Time?
Eastern Time.
Eastern
Time. Okay, I was like, did you do Eastern? Okay, Eastern Time.
Yeah, Eastern's easier to translate to other ones.
Yeah. That's what I thought, but then I was like, did I read Eastern and make that up in my head? Who knows? But yeah, I hope you guys walk away with a lot of recs. Make sure you're following Heather and Brie, obviously, and I will have links to the announcement video. If you, for some reason, watch this entire thing and have not signed up, I don't know what's wrong with you, but thanks. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that's it for this. We will be back on Bree's got friends on our channel Saturday to kick it off, so you can go check those out, and we will see you soon. Bye.